Keeping it real, keeping it real, keeping it real, keeping it real, keeping it real with Reverend Laura.
We think that in order to be creative, it has to be big, spectacular. It has to be something that the world has never seen before. And I think that all of that builds up in our mind and our consciousness about what we think creativity should be, that sometimes it makes us afraid to even try to be creative. One of my favorite books of all time is written by author Elizabeth Gilbert. She's best known for her book, Eat, Pray, and Love. But I find her book written on creativity is one of the most powerful things I've ever read. Her book, Big Magic, is subtitled Creative Living Beyond Fear. And she begins her book by asking a question that she was given early on in her career by one of her professors. Do you have the courage to bring forth the treasures that are hidden within you? Do you have the courage to bring forth the treasures that are hidden within you? Elizabeth Gilbert goes on to make the statement that this is the single question upon which all creative living hinges. You see, the divine creative loving intelligence has placed within us, in every single one of us, a treasure that's waiting to be expressed, a hidden jewel. And the search for that treasure, the willingness to look for it in the first place, is what Elizabeth Gilbert says separates the mundane existence from a more enchanted one. You see, we didn't come here to play small. We didn't come here to be mundane. We came here to allow that divine expression of spirit to move through us. That force that created everything did not spend its time and energy bringing us into existence so that we could live an unfulfilled life. This is the very reason that we create. It is the very reason that we are creative, and that everything we do is an act of creation. In his book, The Philosophy of Ernest Holmes, our founder actually asked and answers this question. Why do we create? Unless we live creatively, we die, because there is an irresistible desire to express life. That's how fundamental and profound it is. Unless we live creatively, we die. Now again, the act of creating does not have to be something that has never been seen before, something that sets you above all others, something through which others can't help but be in awe of you. Because you see, that's a very scary idea. Thinking that anything I create has to be earth-shattering or profound, well, that's darn right scary. And who am I to think that I am that great, or that I am that important, that the divine spirit put that idea in me to bring it forth? You know, in her beautiful quote, Marianne Williamson speaks to this very idea. She asks, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God, and your playing small does not serve the world. This is what we've come here to be and to do, is to be that place through which spirit shows up. But it's our fears that hold us back from creating the life that acknowledges and honors the gifts that have been bestowed upon us. But creativity and fear are born at the same time. That creative spark, that brief blast of inspiration, it floods our consciousness, and riding the wave of possibility that exists in that flash exists right there and then our old inner friend, fear. And so our natural inclination would be to want to get rid of the fear, to eliminate it totally out of our life, and not give it a place to operate in our experience. It's only natural that we would want to get rid of it. But we here at Centers for Spiritual Living have a saying that goes like this: what you resist, persist. And so every time we try to battle our fears, every time we engage in eliminating our fears, every time that we try to overcome them in some way that takes them out of our experience, we find that they're still attached. And they're often manifesting themselves in other ways besides that creativity. So when we're trying to resist it, when we fight it and we battle it, sometimes it becomes more of a thing than it was in the first place. And when it comes to our creative expression, I believe that it's important that we begin to build a space within our consciousness where that fear of what might happen and that creativity, that infinite possibility that is existing right there, where these two things can begin to coexist. This is a place where fear is there, but it's not inhibiting the expression of what's wanting to come through us. It's right there with it. And there may be a little bit of trepidation, but sometimes that force of fear can be an impetus to move us to the next level of our expression. Elizabeth Gilbert has a fabulous way of describing how she allows fear and creativity to coexist whenever she's engaging in a new endeavor. She calls it the road trip. And in her book, Big Magic, she has a letter that she has written to fear about the next upcoming road trip. She's inviting fear to join her in creativity as they embark on their journey. Let me share just a little bit of that with you. It's so well written. There is plenty of room in this vehicle for all of us, so make yourself at home. She's speaking to fear. But understand this, creativity and I are the only ones who will be making any decisions along the way. I recognize and respect that you are part of this family, and so I will never exclude you from our activities, but still, your suggestions will never be followed. You're allowed to have a seat, and you're allowed to have a voice, but you are not allowed to have a vote. You are not allowed to touch the road maps. You are not allowed to suggest detours. You are not allowed to fiddle with the temperature controls. Dude, you are not even allowed to touch the radio. But above all else, my dear old familiar friend Fear, you are absolutely forbidden to drive.
Keeping it real with Reverend Laura.